All right, question 117 says in problem 116, you found out that there were many solutions to an inequality, meaning that there were many answers that would make the inequality statement true. How can you show all of these solutions? One way is to write an inequality statement such as P is less than or equal to 234. Another way is to graph the solutions on a number line. So we all know how to graph a number on a number line. So we're going to go ahead and build off of that information to go ahead and graph inequalities. So it says analyze the process for graphing an inequality such as 2 and 25 hundredths is less than h minus 5 tenths by completing the following problems. So we ended problem 116 with this inequality. H plus 5 tenths is greater than 2 and 25 hundredths. So A says start by drawing a number line. Okay, we can do that. And plot as many of the points that you found in part C of problem 7-116 as you can. So one of the points that we plotted was 2. Okay, and the other point that we plotted was 10. And we found out that the smallest number that would make the statement true, or actually the smallest number that H could be, was anything larger than 1 and 75 hundredths. Okay, so that's kind of our starting point. So when we solved this again, we found that H was greater than 1 and 75 hundredths. So if I asked you to plot 1 and 75 hundredths, you would plot it right here. So we're going to go ahead and draw a circle there. And we also knew that 2 was a solution, 10 was a solution. We knew that numbers bigger than 10 would be solutions, and pretty much everything in between these two numbers would be solutions. So some of those you guys tried on your own. So what do we notice is happening is that these plotted points here are filling up the line. In fact, they're filling up even beyond our largest value on the number line. So how we show that graphing-wise is we shade on the number line, including our arrow, to indicate that these are all answers to the problem. They will all make this inequality true, including numbers beyond our number line. That's why we shade in the arrow. So B says what would it look like if we plotted all of our values. So that's what it would look like if we plotted all of our values. If we continue to put dots all along our line, everywhere in between, we would get a solid line. Question C. Where would the line that is formed by the plotted points end? That is, where would the boundary points be? A boundary means something that, where something begins and where it ends. So you notice that our number line started at 1 and 75 hundredths because that was when we solved for H, our variable, that is the answer that we found. So that's the lower boundary. Our upper boundary is somewhere way, way, way beyond 10 in the positive direction. So we have kind of an infinite number, or infinite length here of our upper boundary. We don't have a stopping point. So question D reads, is the boundary point for this problem part of the set of solutions to be included on the number line? So we want to know this lower boundary of 1.75, is that part of our answer? And we talked about if we plug that in here, is 1 in 75 hundredths greater than 1 in 75 hundredths? The answer would be no. It's not greater, it's actually equal to. So this circle that we plugged here is not part of our answer. So we're going to go ahead and leave that as a open circle. So there's some notes here that talks about when do we fill in the dot and when do we leave it not filled in. So if you think about a bubble test that you have taken in the past, if we bubble in a circle, we want it to be our answer, or we want it to be part of our answer. If we don't fill it in, then we don't want it to be part of our answer and it won't be graded. So because we don't want this value, this lower boundary point, to be part of our answer, we're going to go ahead and leave it not colored in. Letter E. It says, read the information in our math notes at the end of this lesson. Check to be sure you drew your number line accurately. So we drew it together so we know that it's done correctly. The solid line here indicates everything that's part of our answer. Okay, everywhere beyond the 1.75 but not including it. It says to write an inequality that represents the solutions to Moki's situation in problem 116. So we already did our number line. Okay, so we started at 1 and 75 hundredths, open circle, and we shaded everything to the right. Our inequality would just be that H then is greater than 1 and 75 hundredths. Because any answer that is greater than this number is a solution to this problem. Moving on, 118. Says each April, bluebonnet wildflowers are commonly seen throughout Texas. One botanist claimed that the number of acres of bluebonnet wildflowers in Gillespie County this year could be estimated by the inequality W minus 30 is greater than or equal to 110. The variable W represents the number of acres of bluebonnet wildflowers. So again, we went ahead and defined the variable. So letter A reads, some local residents guessed that there were 125 hundredths, 126, 140, 152.8, or 163.5 acres with bluebonnets in the county. Test these values, meaning plug them in, and see which of them are possible for the number of acre of wildflowers this year. So in the problem right up here, they give us the inequality that these residents used. W minus 30 is greater than or equal to 110. So they want us to test these numbers out. So we take out our variable and we plug in each value. So 125 hundredths is replacing our variable. And if we subtract 30 from that, we want to know, is it greater than or equal to 110? Okay, 125 hundredths minus 30 is 70 and 25 hundredths. Is that greater than or equal to 110? The answer would be no. So that means that the number we plugged in here is not a solution. So let's go and try the next one. If we use the same inequality here, now plug in our next value, 126, for our variable, is 126 minus 30 greater than or equal to 110? So again, if we subtract 30 from that, we get 96 as our answer. And is that greater than or equal to 110? Again, no, it is not a solution. Meaning the number that we plugged in for our variable, 126, is not a solution. If we keep going, and now try 140. Sorry, that's my daughter. You erase all of Daddy's work. So starting back, if we have W minus 30 is greater than or equal to 110, and now let's try 140. Is 140 minus 30 greater than 110? No, but it is greater than or equal to 110. So we can say that when we plug in 140 for our variable, that 140 is a solution because it makes the statement true. So you can imagine that if 140 is equal to 110, making the statement true, anything larger than that, including 152 and 8/10, or 163 and a half, are also going to be solutions. But be sure in your work to go ahead and plug those in and test them out for yourself. Okay, I will be looking for that when you guys submit your work. B then says, write an inequality to show all of the possible values for W. So W, we know, could be greater than or equal to 140. Because remember when we plugged in 140 up here, it was exactly the smallest number that would make the statement true. So it can be, this makes it equal, so W can be equal to 140. But when you guys plugged in something greater than 140, including the 152.8 and the 163.5, you learned that also made the statement true. So question C, finishing this out, says, how can we graph this on a number line? How can we show all possible numbers? So on a number line, if we asked you guys to go ahead and plot where 140 was, you would be able to plot 140 somewhere. Our answers are greater than or equal to 140. So our circle goes on 140, and we're going to shade in every number that is greater than 140, including the arrow to show that our answers continue to go towards the right. So 200, 1,000, a million, whatnot. Do we shade this number in? Meaning, again, think about a standardized test. If we shade this in, we want it to be part of our answer. Do we want 140 to be part of our answer? Yes, because it can be equal to 140 as well. In the previous problem, when it wasn't equal to the value, we left it open. All right, question 119. Croaky the frog, unknown position on a number line, can be represented by the variable p. So again, we defined our variable. P is equal to the position of Croaky. And we started talking about Croaky when we were using the number line and how when we first began writing algebraic expressions. So Croaky's choreographer established Croaky's position with the inequality P plus 7 is less than 18. Show all possible positions for Croaky on a number line and write an inequality representing the positions. So we need to solve this. If this was an equal sign, I bet you guys can tell me what P would be equal to. All right, so we're going to replace that equal sign with what they gave us, which is a less than symbol, and go ahead and solve for P. So to get rid of that 7 that we're adding, we use the inverse of adding 7, which is subtracting 7, because we want to undo that adding. But if I subtract 7 from this side, we need to go ahead and subtract 7 from this side as well. So what's left over here? If we have P and we added 7, then we took 7 away, all we have left is our variable. And that's less than or equal to 18 minus 7, which is 11. So we know our inequality, our answer for the position of Croaky has to be less than 11. So on your number line, we find where 11 would be. So we can number it a little bit lower, a little bit higher, as far out as you want it to go. And we put our circle on 11. And we want to say if our answers are less than 11, we want to think about, are these answers less than 11 or are these less than 11? And that's the direction in which you are going to shade, including the arrow. Okay. Do we shade this circle in? Okay. Is it equal to 11? No. So do we want 11 to be part of our answer? No. So think back again to a test where you guys had to bubble in. You would not bubble it in because you do not want it to be part of your answer. Good job on today's lesson. Make sure you guys review the work we did today in class, study your homework. Make sure you guys turn it into Google Classroom by 11:59. If you have questions, please make sure to ask, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much.